You have found your dream property in Ghana. The palm trees are going like this from left to right. And let's not forget the ocean breeze. It welcomes you. You're picturing that new life that is peaceful. You are proud, and of course, you are finally home. That's what you're telling yourself. But what if I told you that there's one legal error, that, one overlooked clause that could wipe away that dream overnight? Ghana's new property laws have changed everything. If you are a foreigner, a diasporan, an investor that is thinking about buying land in Ghana, this video today could save you thousands of dollars, or even that your future home that you are thinking of, acquiring. So don't send a single dollar, not until you have watched this video to the end. I want you to subscribe. I want you to grab a pen so that we can break this, down together. My name is Obinje, and this is the Obinje O Talk, where we, bring to you honest, culturally rooted insight on life here in Ghana, money, and of course, decisions that are being taken right here in West Africa, Ghana. So today's episode, I'm going to be diving down into Ghana's new land and property laws. I'm going to be looking at what they mean specifically for the foreigners and members of the diaspora that are, in Ghana or are planning to come into Ghana. So if you're with your pen, if you're ready, let me give you a breakdown of what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be talking about the different types of land in Ghana and what ownership actually means here. We're going to be looking at what the 2024 stroke 2025 law changes are. We're going to also be looking at what's legal and illegal right now. We're going to be looking at how foreign buyers are the most vulnerable set of people, and also we are going to be looking at how you can protect yourself if you still want to buy land here in Ghana. So guys, I'd want you to stick with me to the end, because I'm also going to be sharing verified legal resources and a due diligence checklist that you can use when you're ready to invest right here in Ghana. So are you ready? So before we jump into the new law, let's get something clear. For you to own a land here in Ghana, it's not the same thing as, the UK, the US, or even in Canada. Right here, there are five main types of land. Okay, we have the customary land, which is, lands that are being owned by the stools, the skins, the clans, or even the family members. We have the state land, which is owned by the government. We have the vested land, which is partly managed by the government and partly, traditional. Okay, we have private land here in Ghana, which is rare, but sometimes they are tied to companies or legal owners. And lastly, we have the family land, which is usually passed through generations. Now you have to be very careful with this, because this one can be a little bit tricky. Now here's where things get complicated. In Ghana, every local often don't own lands outrightly. They lease it they lease it out. Now for the foreigners, the limit is even tighter. Okay, so in 2020, Ghana passed the Land Act 2020, Act 1036, but many of the new enforcement rules only started rolling out in 2023 and 2024. So here's what matters the most. We have the key changes, which are all land transactions must be registered with the Lands Commission. Land documents must be digitalized, and of course, they are traceable. Foreigners are limited to a 50-year leasehold, which is no freeholds. Customary land deals now require approval from key family stool authorities. You can no longer sell land you don't have a legal title to. No more site plans only. Punishments introduced for selling land to multiple buyers are in place. Okay. Now these reforms aims to reduce land fraud, improve traceability, and of course to clean up the mess. But they also mean that foreigners have more paperwork and more risk if they skip due diligence. So if you are a non-citizen here in Ghana, you can only lease land for about 50 years, and it is renewable once. Now, what does that mean? It means that you can build on the land, you can develop it, and you can even live on it. but you don't truly own that land. You're just leasing it from the traditional or the legal owner. And after 50 years, you must renegotiate, and there's no guarantee of success, okay? Some unscrupulous sellers will sell you freehold, even though you are not eligible. And you should know that this is illegal. The non-citizen, clause in quote under the Land Act, it's very clear. It says that if you are a foreigner and you buy a land without properly registering the lease, you could also lose it. Now, despite the reforms, the scams are still evolving, of course. We have fake indentures. We have a plot that can be sold to multiple buyers. We also have the land guard intimidation. It's still, the funny enough, the land guard intimidation, it still happens despite the legal bans of this group of people. We also have the disguised freehold sales to foreigners. Now, this is one trick that we have been seeing in 2024 to 2025, and this is buy through a Ghanaian friend or a local company and you get around the law. It sounds very easy until the friend claims ownership of that property, of that land that you have bought, and then you are being kicked out. So let me give you a spoiler. If your name isn't on the registered list, you have no legal claim to that property. So you see the downside of buying a property through a Ghanaian firm. Now let me tell you a story about Kofi and Akaswa, a couple from the Bronx. They saved for 7 years to buy a land near Kaswa. They bought it from a family elder that had all the rights to the paperwork, or so they were taught. They were, told. 2 years later, the land was resold to someone else. The same stool gave it to someone else. Funny, they are in the court. Their house has been half built. Their money gone. They are in court dragging that property. Now, there's another story from Sandra from London who bought through a friend. She built $100,000 house. She can't even enter the house now. The friend has ownership to all the documents. The law didn't protect them because they didn't protect themselves. They went around and bought illegal lands. So how do you buy safely under the new rules? Yes, how to do it right in 2025 right now. The first thing that you need to do is that you have to hire an independent property lawyer, not one that is referred by the seller. You have to be very careful and stand your grounds when it comes to getting a lawyer. You have to run a title search at the Lands Commission. You can actually do this online, or you can use verified agents. You have to insist on seeing the land certificate, not just the land, site plan anymore. You have to ensure lease terms are clear, duration renewal clause, and of course, the land use rights. You need to register your indenture within 3 months of signing it. You have to avoid cash deals. You have to use traceable bank transfers. That's self-explanatory. You need to visit the land with community elders, not just agents alone. You need people to know that you are buying that land, people that matter. So what is the legal advice, insider tips, and of course the trusted resources that I can give to you? Land Commission websites, the lands.gov.gh, the Ghana Bar Association Directory, which is for verified lawyers, the Ghana Property Center, and Mikasa for listings. But you need to always verify before you get a property there. Diaspora Affairs Office. You can consult on cross-border rights. Land Use and the Spatial Planning Authority for zoning information. Let me give you one tip, okay? Never rely solely on the agent that is taking you to that property. You need an advocate on your side, an advocate that is not just a middleman. So, what is my final word? Should you still buy a property in Ghana? Should you still buy a property in Ghana as a foreigner, an investor, a diasporan? Of course, but do not do it blindly. The dream is real, but only if your foundation is legal, smart, and of course it's protected. Ghana is home for many in the diaspora. So just don't let that emotional, becloud your sense of judgment, okay, when you want to buy a property here in Ghana. So if this video gave you clarity or it saved you from bad investment, I want you to do me a favor. Hit the like button. subscribe, and of course share it with someone in your network, okay, who is thinking of buying a property right here in Ghana. And don't forget that you can drop your questions in the comments, and I will answer as many that as I can answer. But remember, I'm not a verified agent. I'm not a trusted one. I'm just giving you information. So guys, thank you. This is Obinji O Talk, where truth meets culture, and of course it's your way to your journey to Ghana, and it does begin right here. So guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye.